Welcome to another edition of Survival Mode, where we give entrepreneurs a step-by-step roadmap to starting their own business. I'm Bert Robinson.
I'm Kevin Beers.
I'm Michael Grant Jr.
You can reach us by email at hello@survivalmode.live or check out our website at www.survivalmode.live. Let's get to it. Welcome back to another edition of Survival Mode. We are back talking about step number 7. Now we're going to be talking about, first, we talked about how to identify, your ideal clientele. But now how do you intend to reach them? You identified them. Now it's how you intend to reach them. Now, there are many ways to reach that target market. So I'm not going to go into this. Kevin.
Okay.
Help me out now.
Yep. Okay. So there's different, we break our target market down into demographics: male, female, age groups, interest. What are they interested in? So if we're for instance, if we're interested, let's say our business is selling books. Well, that's becoming a more limited market these days. So if we're looking at selling books, who actually looks at books? So you start getting into, let's just talk about social media marketing. Social media marketing allows you to break down by interest. Well, someone who's interested in reading groups, in book clubs, in magazines, actually anything where reading occurs, that's where those people can be found. When we break it down by age group, well, now we're talking about actual platforms, because Facebook is best for the older generations, Instagram, TikTok, the much younger ones. The millennials, Gen Zs, they kind of fall between the two, between the different groups. They can be found on both many times. So when we're talking about the social media platforms, you start that actually breaks up by age group. We can also do it by gender. Okay, YouTube is mainly men who watch YouTube. That one surprised me. There's far more men on YouTube than women. That's a good thing to keep in mind. Also, when you start marketing, then you got to watch your data. And this one becomes very important when it comes to marketing. If you're trying to market something for men, but the women are the ones who are responding, you got to figure out why. So again, then that's when the data starts playing into it. So if your target market is men, maybe it's something women are buying as gifts for men. That can be one of the outcomes of the research. So we're talking; those are all electronic ways. If we're talking about the much older generations, newspapers are great for that. Sometimes a sign just outside your building, depending on whether, if you're a storefront, you may not be able to do that. If you're in a food district, let's say you have a restaurant and you're in the food district, those chalkboards that are out there, if you say something witty on your chalkboard, that can bring people in. So that's another way of doing it. It can be flyers. It can be door hangers. It can be word of mouth. That actually, for some reason, tax places hire people to stand out on the road and spin signs. I don't know if that actually works or not, because I haven't worked for a tax preparer before. But maybe it does work because they all do it. So I've seen that for mattress places too. I don't know why, but it might actually work. If you're looking at someone who wants, if it's emergency needs that you're advertising, then you go to Google, because no one looks on Facebook for an emergency plumber. They look on Google because you just Google it. And they're like, I need an emergency plumber, someone who's open 24/7. Now, you can use Facebook to get your brand recognition, but you use Google for the emergency, So again, there's so many different ways that you can make this work. Figure out who your target market is. What is it they do to gather their information? And that's when you can get in front of them. Like, where do they get their news? Go there and advertise. And so That's where I would go with all the mark. There's so much more to it, but really that's a good starting place.
One of the things that you touched on with with Google and all this other stuff, and I get that. I like those ideas. Email marketing is really huge out there. But me personally, I like those in-person events. Putting on those in-personal events, to gather data, going to um, I like go to a restaurant or put together an event and see what kind of response I get because of the data that we would probably get together before I even do that. Because there's a lot of research to go into it. Am I right, Kevin?
Yes, and I want to point out what you're talking about is very local. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have like nationwide, the way you market nationwide is very different from the
Different.
way you market locally. But yeah, so how you market is going to be based on a lot of different things.
Now, Michael, you're doing this right now with a client in the restaurant business. Okay, getting you guys are getting ready to open doors real soon. But before I get into all of that, hey, everybody, you can reach us at our website at www.survivalmode.live, or you can go email us at hello@survivalmode.live. You can check us out there. We'll take care of you. Michael, what are some of the challenges that you have been going through in your marketing and preparing for that ideal client?
Wow, that's a great question. Um, One of the challenges is not knowing all the facts. You need to know as much of the facts as possible so that you can start making good decisions. So oftentimes people they don't learn enough about the market. They don't analyze their resources, um, identifying how they want to carry out their particular vision or mission. So all these different things play into how you're going to identify your target market, how you're going to reach them. I personally believe that you need to identify what what are you working with. For instance, what is your budget? Do you have a dedicated budget? That budget will determine the direction you go and how you advertise and market to your target market, because certain things cost money. So based on your budget, that will determine how much sweat equity you put inside of your advertising marketing campaign. Identifying your skill set. Who are you going to hire? All these different things play a part, and I tell you, it it really
Wait,
affects where you go and how you do things.
Michael, you talk about that sweat equity. Okay. The less money that you have available, that's going to increase the amount of sweat equity that you're going to be doing. Am I correct?
100% correct.
Okay. So, and the thing about what we try to teach people is that's you try to minimize a lot of that sweat equity by leveraging people. And sometimes you got to spend a little extra money, okay, to get things going. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Now, let's go back to what you were talking about, that fact base. Kevin, isn't it important to get as much information, as much factual information to make that ideal clientele come to fruition?
Absolutely. The one thing people do wrong, and Michael's already mentioned it, they don't gather enough information. I'm going to go back to the social media marketing. Basically, if you're trying to target a certain section of the population, it can be very expensive if you don't know exactly what you're going after. It's just very costly, or it might limit the size of your audience. The biggest thing is because you have brought up, how much of a marketing budget do you have? When you're trying to get your name out there, and then this will come down to what does your marketing actually say? So if you're marketing to it, again, demographics, how do you speak to each of the demographics? If if you're marketing to 18 to 30-year-olds, You're not going to use words like soliloquy or like you're going to cut certain words out because they don't use those words. But if
They
you're
don't
speaking
connect.
to a very old population, that might be a word that catches their attention. Like, oh wow, I didn't know anybody said that anymore. I want to go check it out. So I mean, that's just off the top of my head, but it can be very expensive if you don't know enough because you're going to have to adjust it until it really works for that market you're going after. And you don't want to waste your money trying to figure it out. Figure it out and then spend the money.
My goodness, Kevin, you have a plethora of information to provide for everyone.
Seriously.
And me being in radio years ago, the words you use resonate. They resonate with people, okay, and different sectors of the market. You have to know all of that, okay. It's just a fact. McDonald's uses it very well, okay. They do. Other uh, who else? What the other fast food place? Chick-fil-A, they do it very well. You've got to realize, and look at some of the things that they do. You just can't do it all. If you're looking for 18 to 24, 18 to 34, you've got to know that market. And you've got to leverage some people. I'm not going to say who, but Kevin, you got to leverage those people. I'm not going to say who else. Michael, you got to leverage those people. Okay, that's what you've got to do. All right. Listen, our website is www.survivalmode.live. Now, our email address is hello@survivalmode.live. We're giving you this information so you can leverage us to help you go what? Step by step by step to get to where you need to be. It's not easy. It's work. Michael has been working his gluteus maximus off. I'm not going to say what else I was going to say. Kevin goes through this all the time. He's been working with different churches and things of that nature lately. So be prepared to do the work to get where you need to go. Now, coming up in the next segment of step number 7, it's time to create the content for your target market. Kevin, you need to be ready. We'll be back in just a few.